Hello, Lezyne. I recently punctured my GP5000 TL tubeless setup, and while the sealant worked well enough to get me back, it hasn't provided a long-term fix for the hole. And while I was researching ways to sort that out, I ran across this kit from Lezyne, and there are lots of other manufacturers which have essentially the same thing, so it's not specific to this one. Which kind of sit in that space between sealant is good enough to you need to throw a tube in there. And I always carry a tube with me, but obviously it's more convenient just to not need to take the tire off and deal with the mess of the sealant and all that other stuff on the side of the road. So I figured it was worth grabbing this and adding it to my saddlebag to kind of have another thing that helps deal with punctures on the road, because they happen. There's not much you can do about that. So let's go ahead and get this out. And by the way, these are great. Keep these. I use these for attaching hydraulic brake hose to my bike. So I'm always happy when I get some of these for free. So as this is something that's going to go with you on the bike, it's important to know how much it weighs. So let's go ahead and get that. If I can get this to stop moving. So 38 grams. And then you get the installation tool, a thing to hold the stuff and kind of keep it airtight, which is important because these apparently do dry out. And what these are, they're cord or little bits of string with some kind of rubber or something on them that makes them sticky. And I think they're called bacon, actually, because some of the other options out there are brown. But the idea, and it's written on the side here, is that you remove whatever it is that's in the tire, then you kind of use this to extend the tire, and then you put one of the bacons in here and push it in through the hole, and then this creates something that the sealant can then grab onto and stick to help seal the hole better. And I think the idea is that you kind of leave it in there permanently and then you kind of trim it off. But like a lot of tubeless repair solutions, this seems to be geared more towards mountain bike or gravel tires, because anything with a knob you probably wouldn't notice if there was one of these things hanging off the outside of it. But on a road tire, which is pretty much like a slick with a tiny bit of tread on it, you would almost certainly notice it as it rotates around to like thump 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 thump. But that's something that I'll probably test out, although I'm not quite sure if I'm going to try to stick this in the tube and see what happens. Although it's a great experiment. I contacted Continental to see what they recommend, and they have not yet gotten back to me. So if that continues to be a thing, or they tell me to write the tire off, I'll probably stick one of these in there just to see what happens and how it feels on the tire or on the wheel. But that's the idea, is that this thing goes in your saddlebag, and then you can use this to plug the hole, so you don't have to put a tube inside. So I ended up getting a new tire, but before I put it on the wheel, I figured it would be a good idea to kind of test out this guy on the wheel. So we're going to take the pressure down to a level which is probably consistent with having had a puncture, and then stick in one of the bacons and see what happens. And as you may have noticed, I've taken it outside, got the hose over there just in case things go horribly awry, and let's find out what happens. So I have the pressure down to about 30 psi, so about less than half of what it would be normally. And so I'm going to try to stick the bacon in, give it a spin, and then test it out. So that was a lot harder to get in than I expected it to be, but it does appear to be working pretty well to seal the hole. And I don't think I even got it in quite right, because I only was able to get one side to stay in. As I was pulling it out, I was otherwise having a hard time getting it to stay in there, maybe because the size of the hole wasn't very large. So I'm going to let it sit there for a second, go get a pair of scissors so I can cut it off, and then we can test the pressure to see how well it's holding. I've got just shy of 80 pounds of pressure in there, and so I'm going to put it on the bike, go for a little ride, probably just around a block or so, see how it feels, and then we can check to see how much pressure is in there when we get back. So we had 80 pounds of pressure in there beforehand, and I haven't measured it quite yet, but I did take about a mile spin in it, or on it, whatever. And as you can see, it kind of flattens out, but interestingly enough, and picks up rubbish, interestingly enough, I didn't feel it at all on the bike. It just kind of blends in with all the other chatter that you get from all the other, like the crud that's on the road. So I wouldn't have that a concern around the thump thing that I thought that it would be a problem, that you'd feel it and it would be annoying. But I probably will give this a trim to get a little flatter. And let's get the pressure and see where we are with that. It's not on right. I don't know if you all heard that, but I lost a lot getting on there. And I have 76. So it actually looks like it's holding pretty well, considering that I probably messed it up more than anything. So that actually is great news. I think I'm just going to trim that up, and then I'll put it back up to 80. And then, or 80.5, just to account for my inability to get this on and off cleanly. And then check it tonight and see where we're at. So it's a moment of truth time, and I placed a tissue underneath the tire just like I did before. And I'm going to take this off, and nothing. Well, maybe tiny. It's hard to tell because it definitely got stuck to the sticky bit of the bacon. But that's a great sign. So let's check pressure now. So it says 74.5, 70.4, but the way it's going, it kind of looks like I don't have a great seal on that. So let's try again. All right. So yeah, so I definitely lost some. I don't know if this shows up, but it says 78, which isn't bad considering that I lost some going on and then again, here again, the second time I got on. So that's actually really good. This might actually work. So I'm going to put it up to 85 now. Can I? No, I can't. My air compressor is out. So we'll go 80.5, or just 80, 80.5. Pop it off and let it go for a couple more hours. And maybe it fixed it. So it's now morning. I forgot to check the pressure last night, or the pressure in the tissue last night. So just getting that out there, because it will probably see more pressure loss, or I'm expecting to see more pressure loss than I would have if it was just a few hours, because for whatever reason my tires always lose some pressure overnight. So anyway, let's get that checked. And that looks dry to me, which is awesome. So at the very least, I think we can say that it's good for an emergency repair. I guess the real test will be on a real ride, something, 20, 40 miles, something like that. So I guess I'll have to do that and hope I don't end up walking home. Actually, let's check pressure. It's intent all along, actually. I just forgot to do that. Got a little excited there because hopefully I can get this on correctly the first time. Okay, that actually sounded pretty good. It's coming up, and hopefully, can we see that? 75.5. So that was what? Well, now I'm losing some. So probably lost some. So lose some overnight. Lost some on the on and off. And not too bad. So it's hard for me to say whether or not that's losing it, or how much of that is just the normal I lose pressure overnight. Well, actually quite a lot of pressure overnight thing. So yeah, I think the next stage is to just ride it for real and hope that I don't have a problem that I can't recover from on the ride. So I learned two things, well, a few things actually, on my real ride with the bacon. And you might notice that there's no bacon in there. It's useless on a road tire, because as soon as I was braking on the bacon on a surface, it popped right out and I lost pressure. And it made the sealant come out, but it didn't seal, probably because I had shoved bacon through it. So I put a tube in there, and that's the tube. So one of the other things I learned is that I should probably carry a boot in the my saddlebag, because this tube got pushed out this hole probably and punctured. So now I have another tube in there, and as you've noticed, it's quite a mess. So the other thing that I learned is that I need to put some gloves in the saddlebag because I ended up wiping my hands on my shirt and my and the grass, and it was still not perfect, and I hate having messy hands. So I'm going to call that a fail, and on the plus side, that's 38 grams that I don't need to carry with me on the bike. Alright, so the wrap-up's going to be really short on this one. This Lezyne Tubeless Repair Kit is it's not suitable for a road tire. It doesn't work. And the main reason why that is because you have something that sticks out of the slick, and anytime you put pressure on it, it pulls on it and takes it out, and so it doesn't work. And I mean, it's important to understand that in the context of this, could quite possibly work very well in for a mountain tire, or any tire that has nubs on it that would keep the bacon from making contact with the ground. But it doesn't work here, and so there's not much more to say. Hopefully you found this useful. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or whatever, just leave it in the comment section, and I'll do my best to respond to them as quickly as I can. Thanks.